that's right. Welcome to Am I Rambling? How are we? Can everyone hear me? Yes. Very good. Okay, so we're going to start the walk. We're going to take a walk through Dublin. From Dublin 2, where we are now, to Dublin 8, which is that way. We're then going to get the Lewis back into town. So you only have to walk one way. So if you trust us to do that, that's good. Also, we will run over. That is inevitable because walking and talking, that's what happens. That's part of the beauty of it. Yesterday we ran over by about half an hour, okay? So just so you know that in advance. And it's not the schedule, it's more that people get chatting and enjoy it and they just slow down. That's natural, just the human body. Sometimes it's important in a city to look up as well as look around. So I'm just going to ask you to stand here along this path. And if we can face into this wall, please. So we'd like you all to pick a rose and we'd like you to carry that with you for the rest of the walk. Just be careful, they're not all fully deformed. Thanks, Zara. Oh! There we go. Thank you. So we're going to need these later. Okay. So it's important that all of you take one.
I take this one. Well, my name is Sorcha and I was tasked along with Veronica Dyas by Rasha from Fringe to curate this walking project for IETM. I'd been working with walking for the year before IETM. As a performance mechanism, and Veronica had done the Camino the year before, and it had changed her perspective not only on her work but on her way of living, which is still an ongoing project for her. So we started at Project Art Centre, and myself and Veronica were really acting as curators and facilitators for the event. So we just kind of spoke very little, so the beginning, I suppose, was our little bit to introduce ourselves and our practice a wee bit, and who the audience members were going to meet along the way.
My name is Zara and this is Veronica, and walking has been a part of our lives and our work in very different ways for the past kind of couple of years, and Veronica's going to talk more about that later.
So it was very much a collaboration really between the three of us, between Fringe as a whole and myself and Veronica, because it wasn't really our idea and we didn't instigate it. So it was a curated project really between those three people.
So this is an installation by an artist called Mannix Flynn. He's also a Dublin City Councillor now, so he's also a politician, but he's an artist and a performer. And this is his latest installation, which just changed last week, about the Magdalen laundries and about the survivors. So it's called Unfinished Business, and here he lists, I think there's 16 or 17 in total, questions to the government about the process of the Magdalen laundries and the redress board. So it's actually one of the most crucial and most important things that's happening in our society at the moment. So we want to draw your attention to that. It's well worth having a read of this later on in full, but we just want to mark it as we
when we knew that THEATREclub were going to be part of it, and they had been working out of this place called St. Michael's Estate in Inchicore, developing their project called History, we kind of knew that the walk had to end up there, ideally. So it was very straightforward really, so we were like, that's our A point and that's our B point. And myself and Veronica kind of walked that route a few times to kind of see which was the best way to go, and we could have gone a very idyllic way and a very picturesque through like the lovely parts of Dublin, but we deliberately didn't want to do that. And then we just divided them into segments, and we allocated those segments to the artists.
Thanks, man. That's great. Yeah, he died, but it's all right. He was dead anyway. He was dead on the inside, so.
We walked up to the first stage, which was Conor, Madden and Derick, Devine, and Conor kind of performed a little extract and Derick sang from a piece that they were doing called You Are Hamlet Do. That was near Smock Alley, So that was kind of the first stopping point.
The work we make, I'm fascinated with broken things that are broken, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially broken. I think it fascinates me. When in disgrace, with fortune in men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. Wishing me like to one more wretched hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despising, haply I think on thee. And then my state, as to the lark, at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered, such wealth bring, that then I scorn to change my state with king.
Who are we? Why are we here? It's okay. I'm only asking. It's an awkward question. Won't win you many friends. I go to parties, and I tend to start with something like, how come everything ends?
We travelled through to a laneway behind Christchurch Cathedral where Raymond, Keane and Sarah Jane Scaife performed. Well, Sarah Jane talked a little bit about the background of their project that they'd done, a couple of Beckett projects actually outdoors, and then Raymond performed an extract from it.
So my name is Sarah Jane Scaife and I'm Artistic Director of Company SJ, and since 1988 I've been focusing very much on physical theatre and the works of Samuel Beckett and W.B. Yeats and a lot of Irish writers, but very much through words and physicality. And I've teamed up with Barabbas Theatre Company, Raymond Keane, who I worked with before a long time ago in Throwing Shapes. We had a company back in the early 90s, and we have come together to work on the same things but with a new slant, Yeats and Beckett, trying to insert their works into the social spaces and architecture of Dublin. So IETM put us onto Sorcha and Veronica, and they asked us would we like to be involved in a walk around the city, placing our work within it. And that was really exciting because that's what our work is all about, is the architectural spaces of the city and the people of Dublin. When we looked at what some of the other groups were doing on the way, where they were performing a slight bit of it, we thought maybe we could actually have a performance image while we were talking, and that really, really nailed it for us.
We felt about Ireland and about how the church and the state colluded, got together after independence and basically treated this country almost like a child, and the whole country became like a dysfunctional family. Beckett was born and reared during that time in Ireland, so he experienced all of those people living on the streets, all of those people who were felt disenfranchised. He also lived in Europe before, during and after the World War, so he was also writing from that perspective. So he was writing from the perspective of the homeless, the forgotten, and people without a past, people without a future, sometimes people without a name. This play is about two characters that have lived in sacks, and they share one bundle of clothes. They share one life. There's A and there's B. Normally it's presented in a black box theatre for a middle class audience, and it can be done very funnily or whatever. But when we came back to Ireland, we just felt that we had to try and bring it back to where it came from. I make myself aware of my legs as they bend slowly within the overall movement. One full-bodied organic movement. No one part moves at a faster rate than any other part. All moves inexorably towards the ground, but at such a slow rate that the sculpture my body makes doesn't seem to change in any muscular way. The skeleton collapses gently into itself as it lowers itself to the ground. I catch sight of my reflection in the haze of the dirt-smudged, sun-drenched mirror. The skin on my face reflects my changing sculpture. Gradually I age as gravity takes over. I see my sister's face. I see my mother's face. I see my grandmother's face pass through me as I let the movement guide my body to the floor. Seemingly out of nowhere, my body heaves as a deep sob passes through me. Tears pour down my face and neck as my body inhabits that of the drug addict that I love. For that moment in time, I became her, and she burrows deep inside the marrow of my existence. I move, I cry. I watched my ravaged face form a mask of the inner scream of anguish that has lived within me for over 20 years. The sun is merciless, carving out and highlighting every wrinkle and furrow in my face and neck.
We were there with our piece, and the group came along and they saw us, and we spoke a little bit about our work. And then we walked with the people who had seen our piece, and we walked on to lots of different areas where all the different artists were working, which was fantastic, you know.
Ramblers, we just have a mini stop here. I'd just like to draw your attention.
Then we travelled up through Thomas Street, and Veronica gave a little bit of history about like the liberties and everything because she grew up there.
Okay, this grey area has two functions. One, it's the grey area between myself and Sorcha's practice, which is that Sorcha hates historical walking tours and refuses to allow me to tell you anything historical until we get to the end, when we'll see some of history, which is the project that's happening in St. Michael's Estate. But I can't pass this without telling you what it is, because it's very important to me. So over here is one of the last remaining parts of the wall of Dublin, the castle of Dublin, okay? And this is an installation that maps where it should have been. So you're in where the wall was. So the significance of this is, when you were on this side of the wall where I am now, you were in the Pale, which was occupied by Britain, 800 years of oppression, all that, we won't go into it. But when you crossed over the wall, you are in the liberties, because the people outside of the Pale, beyond the wall, could do whatever the fuck they wanted. So basically, when we cross over this wall, we're in the liberties, you're in your grannies.
We deliberately had said from the very beginning that we had to have like a nice break along the way, so we'd organised for a little stopping point where there was tea and cake. We thought we'd make that also a little way of introducing artists. So the first day we asked Priscilla Robinson to do it, because she kind of does a lot of things around hosting and food. And then the second day, Lynette Moran, who has a festival, Live Collision, she did it. So we thought that would be a good way of her interacting and introducing herself. So that was really nice, because it was just then everyone had been walking along, and of course there was conversations, but this was a good way of people kind of talking to each other, and cake is always a good way of doing that.
Wow. That's what we did, because we kind of. Which one is tea?
This one's water, so if you want a tea bag first.
Thank you.
And another studio called Atelier Performance. Yeah, basically the same place we work in.
And that was where we met Richard and Tom and their mad piece, which they then led us up near Kilmainham, where we met Martin, and Martin was then going to lead us up to St. Michael's Estate.
Ramblers, if we can just gather this kind of over here a little bit.
Basically, this piece explores that space where the self ends and the other begins.
Got into theatre in 2010, post-dramatic theatre especially. In fact, I had no interest in the classics, but post-dramatic theatre I found very interesting, very compelling, and I started working with Martin Sharry, the man who influenced the line, inspired the line. Yeah. He'd said something along the lines of this piece explores a space where the self ends and the other begins, or something very similar to that. And we were kind of slagging him off. It did work in his blurb, I'll admit, but it was quite funny. It was quite like classic Fringe line, you know. It's like the classic line about your play. So we tried to learn this off, and we're going to say this in unison and then walk around the city, and it would be like a total absurdist piece. But as we were learning it, we were saying it together at the same time, and as a chant. And voila, this was beautiful, this was perfect. We said, no. The entire piece is going to be us chanting this line over and over again while we walk around the city, some urban, gritty area. Then we were approached by Sorcha and Veronica to maybe do something for I Am Rambling. Nothing specific, I don't think we were. We were just told that there was a parameter piece which was going to meet different artists along the way, and if we could do something while walking with the audience. And while my flatmate, actually Tom, suggested that we do that with the audience.
Basically, this piece explores that space where the self ends and the other begins. Basically, this piece explores that space where the self ends and the other begins.
An idea that was in my mind a lot at the time, and I kind of justified doing the piece, my profound thinking, was that life is meaningful, but really good art is usually not, you know. And to look for meaning in art as opposed to real life is somehow degenerate or corrupted. So how do you do that? It's actually, when you said about that as an issue, to make something meaningless, it's hard. It's really, really hard to do. You know, because it shouldn't be obviously, because if it's obviously there is no meaning here, then that's just kind of nihilistic, and that. But if it tantalizes you, if it's almost like there is something there, that's ideal, you know.
Where the self ends and the other begins.
Basically, this piece
explores that space where the self ends and the other begins. Basically, this piece explores that space where the self ends and the other begins. Basically,
but when it was like low level, you know, it's like, just do this for 3 minutes. We'll watch it for 3 minutes and then we'll stop it. It was good, you know, in that sense, in that it wasn't building too much expectation, I guess. Yeah. From what I could see, it was a chance to meet artists, you know. It's like people look at you and you can say what you want to them, and as clever as you want, and use the most profound words. But that's grand and instantly forget you. But when they see you perform, when they see you do something, they can latch on and go, I hate it or I like it. or this is something distinctive, yeah. So there's a really big change from before we did our piece till after about how people would talk to us and the engagement.
Basically, this piece explores that space where the self ends and the other begins.
David, and they make work together, they make work separately, and Richard, as we have the show on today, advisory, will be back.
In a lot of time and space, that was up to me where it was, and just to basically, I think anything was a license to do, you know. I wasn't familiar with the route, so I checked it out on Google Maps, and one place name leaped out, High Brazil Buildings. It's just the name of a building complex. High Brazil in folklore is a mythical place off the west coast of Ireland, and so I was kind of maybe conscious of Aran Islands, where I come from, as a mythical place off the west coast of Ireland to a degree, you know. So I was trying to make all these connections, and that's kind of that's a way of representing how I make work. High Brazil is a phantom island, which was said to lie in the Atlantic Ocean, west of Ireland. In Irish myths, it was said to be cloaked in mist, except for one day each 7 years, when it became visible, but still cannot be reached. So it's an island of the imagination, a mythical island. It probably has similar roots to other mythical islands said to exist in the Atlantic, such as Atlantis. Has everyone heard of Atlantis? St. Brendan's Island and the Island of Man. The etymology of the names Brazil and High Brazil are unknown, but in Irish tradition it is thought to come from the Irish I Brazil, meaning descendants clan of Brazil, one of the ancient clans of northeastern Ireland. Old Irish, island, bres, beauty, worth, great, mighty. I think it was an effective script, but I wasn't performing it so well, you know. But that was okay as well, because I kind of catered for that, saying I'm not always off script, and in my performance I'm not a very fluid virtuoso kind of performer. This is a mythical land, but it's also a residential property. High Brazil used to be known as St. Patrick's House and was run as a nursing home for older people by the Little Sisters of the Poor, religious order since construction in 1883 until 1994. I look for connections, a process that allows for discovery. I only got as far as the third chapter in James Joyce's Ulysses, Proteus, which is set as Sandymount, a place where I live nearby now. There he mentions the ineluctable modality of the visible. The ineluctable modality of the visible. The word stuck with me like a riddle, glad for the rhythm. Later I learned ineluctable modality of the visible means that human beings inevitably and continually create and then adhere to patterns based on what we see around us. Thank you.
Barry, and this is Grace. We're part of THEATReclub. We're going to take you into the space that we're making a piece of theatre about. If we could just get a bit of this going. Yeah. Just keep that pace up. Show us.
So Grace, who's the director of THEATReclub's work, met us at the beginning and kind of explained a little bit about who they were and the project. THEATReclub have been working up in St. Michael's Day for over a year with the community there, and I suppose it's in inner city, very much working class. There used to be, actually up until I think it was the week before we did the walk, there was the high-rise flats and they had just been demolished the week before, so it was quite an emotional time, I think, for them because they've been working so closely with the community.
Okay, this is where we're working on our new piece, History, and we're just going to talk you through the space. This is the piece that we're making is going to take in 100 years of Irish history using this land here. The roses that you have, if you want at any point as you go through to just lay them down, we've been laying them down for the last 2 days. This is the site where some of the worst human rights abuses in our nation's history took place, and those things were never written into history, and our piece is trying to write them into history. So just here you see Richmond Barracks.
Richmond Barracks, it was British Army barracks. It's now a health centre. Further on down is a gym. It's not used anymore. It was the gym where in 1916, the 1916 Rising, the rebels were marched down where you were marched. They were paraded through the streets of Dublin. They were brought up here, and they were brought here before they were brought to Kilmainham jail and subsequently executed, or some of them were sent off to other jails. This is a part of history that nobody knows about. If you see the green here, they were army barracks, or they were army houses where some of the British Army soldiers lived, which subsequently became
Kill Square, which was one of the first Irish social housing initiatives, and one of the first actually in Europe. It was one of the first moves by an independent state to take responsibility for housing as a right to life.
So THEATREclub led us through the whole estate, and there was performance dotted along the way, which was in reference to their upcoming project History. And then there was also kids from the area who, it was great for the participants because they kept kind of changing between that lines of, are they part of this, are they not? And that kept happening throughout as we walked through, was that our attention was meant to be distracted, because I suppose they're supposed to look at, like, they're looking how we look at history and what's the real thing and what's the truth.
No, we don't know. They're not. They're not.
You have to learn all about me.
Don't listen to them.
This way. Follow us, please. And put your roses down as you go along. Thank you very much. This is Mary. The Virgin Mary.
For the people from here, from me included, it felt like, geez, I never would have been up here otherwise and interacting with this landscape. And so that, it was quite an epic ending to the whole thing. Yeah.
This way. Over here. I'm going to walk up this path. On your hands now. Don't be looking at him. Don't be looking at him now. Just look at him. Look at this fella here.
He's not in it. He's not in it. It's just, he's not part of this, so.
He's already saying that so we can get on camera. Come.
Yeah. I'll wait until the rest of them get up there. How he's doing? Alright? Nice day. You don't need to look over at him, by the way. Just in case you do. Yeah, stop. Here. Mister. Don't be looking at him. Look this. Look at that. See that white building there? No, he's not that. Stop looking at him. You see that white building there? That's Golden Bridge. That was opened in about 1880 and it closed in 1983. It was
preschool.
It was an industrial school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and an orphanage. And he's putting me off because you just keep looking at him and stuff. Because he's not even in it, you know? Like, he's not part of this tour. Anyway, see all the green patches there, all the grass, all that land. That used to be 10 tower blocks, 10 high-rises, flats. And I was there when the last one was demolished. And he's putting me off.
This is Courtney, by the way. Her dad looks after this graveyard in here. And that's Niamh. Her dad doesn't. In this graveyard here is buried W.T. Cosgrave, who was the first president of Ireland. He was also one of the rebels in 1916. He sanctioned the first public housing scheme, which was Keane Square, which is what you saw down there.
Don't look at him.
You can't listen to him. Also in here is a famine mound that's down the back. And throughout the years, kids, teenagers, adults used to climb in over the walls and hide here, get away from things. take drink, take drugs. I wasn't going to tell you about any of that.
What you just did. So, thank you for everybody for coming today, and I hope you had a lovely time.
They're not part of any of this, by the way.
Yes, we are! We just picked them up from the street. We picked them up from the loose stuff.
And then we all hopped on the loose back into town. And then there was one last final performance from Neil Watkins on the way back through the Italian Quarter on our way back to Project. He has a piece called The Year of Magical Wanking. And Neil kind of performs in a very kind of lyrical, rhyming slang that he seems to have created his own language. So that was kind of the final bit. And then back to Project.
Céad míle fáilte go léir a gcuoine uaisle go obair, that's the Irish for work. Feach, that's the Irish for look. Feast your eyes on the Emerald City. The smell of the Liffey is not so pretty. The song of the street traders isn't Molly Malone, and the feeling I'm feeling is you feel alone. The cuddle has lost its granny grey touch, for the children of Era have been touched too much. Bigora! This nation has taken my lucky charms. I rue the day the IRA handed over its arms. The Irish watch EastEnders. The Irish shop in Tesco, but the Irish forget we survived on potato. Where has all the red hair gone? Where are all the harps? Who let the snakes out? You've missed your last dart. Will Sinead O'Connor ever sing again? Will Ronan Keating admit that he likes men? In this dirty, shitty, pissy kip, the priests said it was normal for their willies to get sick. Thanks for nothing, you fucking jamrag. You fucked my eye and stole my handbag. You terrifying evil bitch. Any day I'll make the switch and live in light, choose somewhere balmy, cause Mary Harney only got one gift, it's Blarney. They called me today, Team NBNA. Are you free to talk? Yes, I am. I squawk. Chalk it down, you're in debt. We haven't received a payment yet. But don't sweat, we have options for you. We can help you, pet. The interest is frozen. The fucker still goes on. Even if you win in the bookies, we won't be looking for extra fees. Just another €40 this month and we'll be having you off your knees. Oh, please. I hang up, I'm relieved. Get back into the sack for the crack. So I jack to the porn on my Mac. I'm no longer working, fill my days with peril, smoking J's from a head shop, watching movies with Merrill, the hours for hours, and I wait for the night and a time to come when I don't feel like shite. I listen to Marty at midday cause he tends to play all the hits. Shostakovich, I eat a Nutella sandwich. Northern Irish motherfuckers, Northern Irish motherfuckers, Northern Irish motherfuckers wanna blame the church. Southern Irish motherfuckers, Southern Irish motherfuckers, Southern Irish motherfuckers wanna blame the church. Eastern Irish motherfuckers, Eastern Irish motherfuckers, Eastern Irish motherfuckers wanna blame the church. Western Irish motherfuckers, Western Irish motherfuckers, Western Irish motherfuckers wanna blame the church. But I'm here for laughter, cause that's what you're after. A place you'll escape into and I'll put a spell on you. There's something to sell in you, success finds its well in you. So here's what I'm telling you, we're just tasting something new. And the gold that'll shine in you is easy to find in you, cause you are the savior of the world. Oh yeah, every boy and every girl. Dance at the crossroads, darling, give me a twirl. Yo! All the Irish motherfuckers, all the Irish motherfuckers, all the Irish motherfuckers want to blame the church. Ladies and gentlemen, here today, I want you to know that you rule. You ain't nobody's fool, it's cool if you're a tool. Just dance your unique dance, sing your unique song. Talk in that funny way, be weird and be long, because I love me. Did you think I was going to say I love you? Well, I do, but what? Well, I love me first. There's a new thing I'm trying because I heard the world's dying, so I'm meditating and praying because I heard Spirit saying we haven't got long. Thank you.